My name is Zona Wilkinson. I was a smith and I'm Gumaroi and Wonnarua. We could have moved to Parramatta or stayed in the coast, but we ended up building this house here and have no intentions of moving. Well, we moved here because it's such a great support within the whole area. You know, you see your own people here as well, but there's a great mix of non-Aboriginal people and other cultures that do support blackfellas in the area. Very involved in football. I was here at some time. I actually coach football. So these kids that I was coaching that were 4-year-old and now got their own children. So who, you know, still come back to you. So Mount Druitt, stigma of Mount Druitt is because it's a very black area. I think Aboriginal culture is the spiritual connection to country, fear of country, fear of sacred sites that you don't know that you're on, women's sites or men's sites. And a classic example is women's prison, where they were having so much trouble, where the women were smoking their rooms out and coming to me about what was happening to them because they were on someone else's country and didn't have permission to be there. Identity theft needs to be addressed. Kids in this community and communities and people all over, Aboriginal people all over, have been living next door to little Joey, and then all of a sudden he's ticked the box in school and he's black and he's jumping streets ahead of them and getting everything, but just found out that he's black. From what, 1800s? You know, this is theft of identity. So how do you stop that? By changing the way people identify, and I refuse to look at a piece of paper, which needs to be through their lineage, not tick the box by someone down the road. I say, who's your mob? Who owns you? Who's your grandmother? Who's your grandfather? You know, who's your great-grandparents and who's your mum and dad? Tell me those things, otherwise don't come in somewhere and claim to be black. Because if you don't know who owns you, then you have a problem. Art is important to Aboriginal people because it's telling the story. It's a songline. It's documenting country. It is also documenting where stolen generations were removed. Ceramics, I love ceramics because you're working with the earth. It's and you're conscious of what you're doing at all times and how you build on what you're doing within that structure. And I mean, you can pick that up from anywhere, you know, and use it. But you need to know where you're bringing that soil from as well, because it then becomes something else, somebody else's country, somebody else's land. And if you don't get permission to tell the story in your artwork, it's a very dangerous game you play. I've taught in jails, which was a very, very hard, teaching in art in any case, because you're teaching them your way. But I taught in jails that the men and women in there were also bringing all their cultures together and mixing it up through art. I do quite a bit of painting around domestic violence, not because I've been in that situation, but I just see it a very threatening for both men and women. But mainly it's threatening these babies that we have. So you see these babies just role-playing that constantly, even when they go to preschool. Look, people say that, and you hear some people say that, well, I'm 40, I'm an elder now. I don't think that an elder is age. It's about what knowledge you carry and what you do, of course, within community. Well, I don't think of being an elder. I just think of myself as being someone that's worked in community, that if someone's in trouble, you have some sort of authority to be able to speak on their behalf. With the Elders on Campus, it's meeting trying to change the mindset of non-Aboriginal people that think they have the authority to rewrite history books on how Aboriginal people should be educated and how they should think and where they live. That's one of the roles of being on UWS. And the other role is about bringing that out into the community to say that what you are and what you're capable of doing and where you find your supports. Well, I'm still receiving knowledge from my mother, who is 103, and by listening. You know, as you're growing up, you're listening to what's said. And that oral history is always passed on, you know. But it's received from listening as well. Listening in respect of what you're being taught. How do I think we can incorporate knowledge and wisdom? You won't do this unless you have a very solid base, and a solid base of non-Aboriginal educators and ministers that want to move this and turn it around. But what are we learning? That everything that's been written by non-Aboriginal people becomes the history. So academics rewrite the history of Aboriginal people that then becomes the knowledge of the next generations, and you never break the cycle of racism. We don't have anything that brings the inside or the outside to the inside, and just one community in that area. It's not built for Aboriginal kids. It's not built for learning. And it's not built for ownership and creating their own space. We need to have our own schoolrooms where elders can come in and out. We need to be educated by them, even me, by the elders that are around me. You learn from different people at different times. But at the moment, our kids are just floating within a bigger system and not getting the attention that they should have to be educated along with them. But it also needs to be documented where the elders are from and where the majority of the students are from, because you're teaching them different cultures. You know how many different cultures are in this area with the elders? They can't all go in there and teach these kids their culture. In an ideal world, we would have our own churches. We would have our own schools. At the moment here in this area, we're surrounded by mosques and schools to teach other languages, where they have their own schools, their own communities that are learning off their elders, the young people. We don't have that. They should be educated. Blackfellas way, not book-read university style. Doesn't work.